Welcome to the Overdrive Outdoors Podcast.
Your source for everything outdoors.
Let's kick it into overdrive.
Overdrive Outdoors Podcast, brought to you by Predator Hunter Outdoors. Whether you are new to predator hunting or looking to upgrade your equipment, Predator Hunter Outdoors will have you hunting after the sun goes down. Carrying a full line of lights, night vision, and thermal optics, along with tripods, calls, mounting systems, and more, check them out at www.predatorhunteroutdoors.com or on Facebook at Predator Hunter Outdoors. Use promo code OVERDRIVE2021 for 20% off your order. Want to lengthen your time in the field and shorten your scouting time? Not only does the HuntWise app show you property boundaries, landowners' names, and in some cases even their phone number, but using the app will show you the wind direction on the map of the place you want to hunt. And the HuntCast feature shows peak movement times for various species, including predators. Get the HuntWise app at www.huntwise.com, the Google Play Store, or the Apple App Store, for only $59.99 a year for Pro or $119.99 a year for Elite. Use promo code OVERDRIVE20 for 20% off an annual membership.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Overdrive Outdoors Podcast. I am your host, once again, Josh Mapes. And tonight we have a new teammate with us, Carl Roeller. Carl, what's going on?
How's it going today?
I'm glad it's finally nice weather.
Yeah, we're finally getting into the fall again, aren't we?
Yeah, and my wife's walking around. I mean, I guess I can't say too much. I'm wearing a jacket right now, too, but I was outside on my way home from work with my window down. It was my kind of weather now.
Oh, yeah, back to shore. Jeans and sweatshirts. God, I love it.
Hoodie weather, that's my thing.
Oh, yeah.
But, Carl has been with us, 4 months now, probably? 5 months?
I think we're pushing six, 7, somewhere in that range. But.
So Carl came around, and we've known Carl for a while through the predator hunting world. Hunting Michigan coyotes is how we pretty much got to know each other.
Yep.
And then, but once you got on with us, we found out that there's a lot more to Carl Roeller than just coyote and fox hunting. So there's a lot of things that you like to do. Why don't you go ahead and just kind of give everybody a little story about yourself? Where'd you come from? Have you been born and raised here? What's the Carl Roeller story?
Well, I guess we'll start. I grew up in Rockford and eventually moved to Cedar Springs as I got older, got engaged. Now I'm still there, having fun. I do a little bit of everything. As he said, I met Josh and Overdrive through predator huntings, mainly the DNR sports, which I consider state.
Mm-hmm. The Great Lakes.
The Great Lakes, Yep. And fun fact, Josh, this is the first tournament he ever beat me in, was Trombley's.
Oh, yeah.
Up till
this year.
This year
with me and Matt.
He technically tied me, but he beat me by weight, which is still technically a beat.
Well, this year you brought in a fox.
Yeah.
So that was what cut you out.
Right.
Because we brought in 3 coyotes.
Yeah, I think you guys beat us by like 10 pounds, which you look at a fox to any coyote, and it would have been pretty close then.
Yeah. And none of our coyotes were very big, I don't think, either.
And we had 2 adult males that I think were pushing right around, I think they were in the 35 to 40 average. So. Yeah. I mean, you guys still beat us, and,
It's fun.
Oh, that's the fun part about it,
We didn't even know we were going to win anything. We still made the drive to the check-in, like you should if you're in them.
Yep.
But, yeah, he starts reading off numbers, and we're getting up there like, hey, now, I know we had more than that guy. I don't think we have as much as that guy. And they called off another number, and me and Matt looked at each other like, that was 3rd place, and we still haven't been called. And then, we took 2nd place in that one, but that was a good time, but that was crappy weather.
Fun. Another thing, that fox, that was a zombie fox. Quick story for it. My buddy shot it behind the ear, and we tracked it for 400 yards through waist-deep snow hour and a half trying to get it out of a culvert with sticks, and long story short to there, talked to the taxidermist, and he skinned it out, and he said the bullet, actually a 22-250, got lodged right behind the skull there. It actually never entered into the skull. I can't believe it. I don't know how that even happened, but he said that's where it stayed. It stuck right there in the skull.
I mean, that fox should have dropped where it stood and never even twitched.
Right. It literally was right behind the ear holes where that bullet hole went in, and it just stuck right there.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, see, but coyotes and fox, though, I mean, we know for sure, I know, coyotes even, you shoot them behind the shoulder, through the heart, they'll run forever. And they'll take some shots sometimes where you walk up to them and you're like, how in the world did you even spin? I mean, just because of bullet placement or bullet damage. But predators seem like they're tough, way tougher than the prey species.
Yeah, I completely agree. I hit one during one of the Great Lakes tournaments, and I hit one, dumped it, got on a second. We actually called in 5. First set, which was pretty wild. We thought, there's no way we're losing this tournament with 5 coming in on the first set. Thought we were going to roll. But the second one I hit, about 150 out, and my partner had the Helion when it first came out, and he said he could physically see blood coming out of both sides as it ran away. We tracked that thing 1,000 yards, 3 bed downs full of blood, and it went back to chasing mice, and it was still bleeding when we were tracking it.
So that's ridiculous.
You can't, and it was bleeding out of both sides. It does not make sense, but they just have a will to want to live.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you end up finding that one?
We never found that one.
It died somewhere.
It had to, you would think, but it was chasing mice or rabbits. I could not believe that to save my life.
Yeah.
When we were watching it in the snow, and I just couldn't. 3 beds, the whole bed was solid blood, all 3 of them. Like, you thought, there's nothing left in this animal, and he still was running around.
Yeah, that's crazy, but they can, we've seen them definitely take some damage before falling down. But another thing that you like to do, and it wasn't actually, you just brought me my stick back from my GoPro, you do a lot of bow fishing during the summertime.
Correct.
Now, what species do you mainly target when you're out there? And, I mean, what is the main reason behind why you do it and why you do it so often?
So, it's the only time you'll hear me say this. I like to chase fatties. The big carp is kind of one of my favorite things to chase, and the other one would be gar. Trying to hit a pencil with a bow with no sights. It's all instinctive shooting we do. To me, that's just a riot. But we chase them around because they're native, but they're an invasive species to a point. They raise the water temperature and they cause other issues in the ecosystem. They're actually not a good thing to have around. The other thing too, we like to chase I don't know what they're called anymore. Asian carp, but they're not called Asian carp anymore.
Well, they are on this podcast.
Okay.
A lot of people know what that is. But yeah, you went down and did a tournament actually for those.
Correct.
What, 2 months ago probably?
Yep, it was right in July or August. No, July. We went down to Kentucky Dam, and we chased the Asian carp down there. The tournament was put on by a guy. They buy the carp down there. They actually sell them for food and some form of food process. Apparently, the Asian carp have a really white, great meat. The things that people don't understand is the Asian carp eat plankton, and they eat the stuff in the water column versus the carp that eat stuff on the bottom. Okay. So they don't eat the junk on the bottom and the mercury and everything else that the carp we have here have. They eat everything that grow that help the ecosystem take off. So down there they pay you, I think it's 9 cents a fish if you shoot it, 9 cents a pound, per fish. The fish average roughly 15 to, you can get 60 pounders.
I've seen videos of some of them big ones slapping people right off boats and stuff.
Yeah, those aren't the ones that jump out of the water. About 15 pounds is your average.
Okay.
8 to 15 pounds. They're not huge, but I definitely took one right to the twig and giggleberries about an hour into the tournament, and
That's how it always seems to go.
I just about went in the drink. But it's fun. It's something to do. It's challenging. It helps down there. You can't not see fish down there. That's the thing. Down there, it's legal to snag like we used to do here for salmon, where you could have the old lead hook.
I never knew that was ever legal here.
No?
No, that was illegal?
Yeah, it used to be for salmon. Yeah, they used to be able to take a sinker with a treble hook on it, pitch it, and pull and snag it. It was legal.
I had never heard that before.
Right when they first introduced the salmon, the first few runs, they allowed it so that they could get them out of there because they die. The salmon here die.
Yep.
So they want them out. And then what it turned into was people were starting to sell these fish. And then they had to find ways to combat the salmon from getting taken out before they made it up here.
I never knew that.
So, but down there you can do it legally. And I had a buddy go down there when he was with me last year, and he was pitching and throwing, and he would just go. We were shooting fish, and I'll throw over here, and was just throwing the sinker over his head, and then pull the line tight, pull, and within 2 hooks he had a fish. There's that many fish down there.
Dang.
And they're always there. They electroshock down there. They run nets, and they still can't seem to get ahead. But when you think fish drop thousands of eggs every time they spawn, and there's millions down there, you just can never catch up at this point now. It almost seems like. So they're trying, but it's a lot of fun trying to shoot fish in the air. They're jumping. There's big fish that swim. The big heads, they're pretty fun. I shot my first one. I shot right. We pulled up. There was a fish. Boom, hit it. And I boat flipped a 40-pound fish right in like I was bass fishing. Everyone looked at me like, what did you... I'm like, what's so fun about these things? You know, did you just boat flipped a 40-pound fish? I said, yeah, it was dead. What do I care, you know? And they said, I said, aren't we supposed to go down here for these fish? And they said, yeah, but wait. And I'm like, wait for what? And my buddy next to me shot one, and he just about got pulled off the boat. I hit it right dead in the spine. Done. Killed it.
Yep.
He didn't. He hit it in the back and hit the T-bar to lock the reel, and he just about got pulled in. He didn't have the drag set enough. And,
so pulled out all the line.
Oh, I didn't pull we got it, but it was just him, the initial jerk. He just about, he didn't want to lose his $1,000 bow.
Yeah.
Our bows aren't cheap, but...
See, when I did it, me and my brother Joe, we used to do that a lot, and we used the crappiest bow we could buy off the shop at a used store, pawn shop, or we had a lot of hand-me-down bows that, we were drawing probably 50 to 60 pounds, so we were never, you've talked to me about it before, and you said your bows are, like less than 30 pounds?
Yeah, 28 is give or take what I shoot for.
Okay.
When I go down for the Asians or bigger fish, I'm targeting bigger fish. I try to jump up more into the 35-pound range. Sometimes they even suggest 40, sometimes for those bigger fish down in Kentucky.
Gotcha.
But when you got to think, you're pulling 55, 60 pounds, can you do that a couple hundred times a night?
You can if you're a man.
Yeah, well,
that's where I was.
Maybe you're more man than I am, but I know my shoulder would get tired after a while. And when we're doing these tournaments like we do in the summer here, BAM, Bowfishing Association of Michigan, they put on tournaments, and we travel all around the state shooting fish and trying to help populations out. You're shooting 100, 200, 300 times a night.
Yeah.
You're trying to put in, it's nothing to put 500 fish in a boat at night with a group of guys.
Well, and I've seen pictures and stuff from, Saginaw Bay that they go out and do that?
Yeah, so Saginaw Bay, it's you can easily do numbers out there and wait. You hit it the right time. It's nothing to put 2,600 pounds of fish in 3-4 hours in your boat truck. It's not just your boat. You got to unload a couple times to do that, but it's been known, it's been done. It's just a matter of knowing where the fish are, finding them, and doing it. But yeah, if you have that many fish out there, it's
right.
And we're not even scratching the surface for us. we figure we're taking 1% of the population, and they're reproducing at 10%. So we're still growing, and we're not even affecting what's out there.
Yeah.
So we're just doing what we can to try to help, but for us it's a riot. It's camaraderie.
Yeah.
There's guys that I compete against. We do other things together. We hang out and do stuff, but when we're out there, we're all talking shit and
Yep.
Having fun with each other.
That's how it is anytime hunting.
Right?
Me and Kevin could get together and coyote hunt, and he'll be giving me crap because I missed another one or something all night long. But yeah, it's cool. That's kind of how all outdoors seems to be, and you always will usually find one or two good people that like to do it the same way or have the same amount of fun, and that makes it all worth it to me. Having that kind of fellowship out there with somebody else that enjoys it just as much as you do. So you're talking all these pounds of fish. What is your boat set up to be able to handle that?
So I got an 1860, 18 foot long, 60 wide on the bottom,
Yep.
in the back, on the transom. I build a deck on top. I put 400 watt high pressure sodiums on there, some LEDs. I got to run a generator. I got a 112 trolling motor on it to move me around, but for us, bigger is better. I want to be faster. I want to be able to beat that next boat out. Guess I'm kind of like one of those pussy bass fishermen that always.
Oh, come on! I like to bass fish too.
Oh, I do too. It's fun. Smallmouth is a lot of fun in
Yeah.
my opinion. I always give my buddies a hard time for it, but that's what, when you're in a tournament, that's what you got to do. I know I'm not getting rich off these tournaments. None of these guys are, but if you're doing it, you got to do it to win. That's what I was always taught growing up as a kid. If what's the point of doing it if you're not trying to?
Yeah,
to
you
be
got
the
to
best?
put in your best effort.
Yep.
Yep.
And I always tried. I went to Davenport and played soccer for them, and that was my goal. I was trying to figure out how to make the best team possible while I was there. You just have to do it. And so when I don't want to look at the bill on what it's taken me to build my boat so far,
No.
but I keep building it and having fun, and it's even the old lady. If it makes it safer, I want it on the boat.
Yep.
If she says you can spend the money, I spend the money.
Yep. So how many lights do you run?
I run 400 watt high pressure sodiums, and I have currently for up here in Michigan, I have 4 LED bars, 400 watt LED bars. And then I put 2 more LED bars on if I go down to Kentucky. Gives me a little more light, but they run a whole different light cycle down there, I guess you could say. The Asians, the big Asians, the big heads, they don't like the light. So you have to you drive the boat in complete pitch, no lights on, no nothing, and then you run a pressure switch that you step on and turn the lights on.
Huh.
And then you basically have to be ready to shoot, because as soon as that light kicks on, you don't have more than 2 seconds, and they're gone. A 40 to 100 pound fish can be gone in 2 seconds. That's how they just turn and go, and they're sitting right on the surface, but they sink that fast. So you just got to sneak. It's all a stealth game down in Kentucky. Up here, sure, we have spots that get overpressured and the fish start getting wise to the lights, but up here for the most part, those big fatties just sit there and let you roll over them and have fun.
So what's been your biggest fish that you've brought into the boat?
My biggest technically would be the 40, I don't know what it was, 40 and some pounds, 40 point something, big head down in Kentucky. We never weighed my spoonbill down there. I don't know how much that one weighed. It was big, but they're a little bit different kind of weight setup. Here in Michigan, my biggest is a 39 pound carp. And the biggest I've seen was the state record by Nate Miller. He shot that big grass carp down somewhere.
Down south?
It was here in Michigan. I just don't want to say where. But that was 50. When we finally officially weighed it, it was 50.6 or 50.8 pounds. I'm positive when we rolled that in the boat, that was a 60-pound fish. But when we got it to weigh in, there was probably 2 inches of solid blood and eggs,
gotcha.
and every scale's all at the bottom of the boat that you can't weigh. And you start doing the math, and a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds.
Yep.
So now you start figuring how much, if there's even a gallon of blood down there, minimum, you're at least at 8 pounds that you just lost.
Yeah.
So that was a big fish. Sad part was I witnessed it get shot. I just couldn't. He was in front of me. I couldn't pull the trigger. I just you just kind of laugh, and he still tells me it's my fish too because he stuck it. The other guy in the boat who was fighting a fish got his boat in and then shot it. His arrow came out. He got another arrow on and stuck the fish. The other guy's arrow came out. I stuck it, and then his line broke, and I actually had to, with just my arrow, I had to get my hands up in the gills and roll it into the boat. So technically my arrow was the last one in there, but it was definitely his fish.
He slowed it down.
Yeah. He spined it, so it was pretty, which is crazy to believe that he did all that and he had a spined fish, so it wasn't even at full power. And then a week later, sure enough, he shot another one, same scenario. I'm behind him in the boat, and I'm like, right there, and he stuck it, and his buddy couldn't see it, and that was 48 pounds when we weighed it. So
Grass carp.
Grass carp, yep.
Okay.
It's another Asian carp. So we have Asian carp here, because grass carp are deemed Asian carp. They don't want them here, and they're actually the DNR and the federal government are actually tracking them. The Federal Wildlife.
Okay.
They're all tracking them. They know that there's 1,000 grass carp in Michigan that they have GPS collars on, and they're watching them. And they're trying to figure out what they're doing and how to slow the population or stop the population. And they've already deemed that here in Michigan, it's inevitable, it's going to happen. They don't want the jumping carp, they don't want the big head Asians, but they know that these grass carp are here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to figure out how to stop them, so in case they get out west, all those reservoirs that all the desert states out there live off of, if those Asian carp get in there, it'll decimate all the water source out there. So at this point, they're learning all their research off of us. And they found that grass carp spawn, they need 2 kilometers of straight water at a certain temperature, at a certain flow, gallons per minute to spawn. And sometimes it'll take them 1, sometimes it takes them 2 of those 2 kilometers to run it to get completely spawned out. And they found that if the water's too warm or too slow, the eggs actually can't make it. So they're starting to learn that they can actually change that by dams, by getting them to go into a spawn and then shutting the dams off and heating up the water. And by doing that, it then changes what's going to happen with them, with the eggs. So they're trying to see if that'll actually affect the eggs enough to have a lower reproduction rate.
Oh, I never heard that either. You're teaching me all kinds of things I never even heard of. I didn't. Have you ever shot one that was tagged?
No, not here in Michigan.
Okay.
But there was one this is pretty neat, that they tagged in Lake Erie, and it is currently in Saugatuck right now, and it actually swam all the way around the state, and now is in Saugatuck living, and
Okay.
which is pretty. I heard walleye doing it, but it's known that grass carp are very territorial once they hit a spot and they claim that it's theirs. More the females than the males. This is a male, but
Okay.
it's kind of neat just seeing that fish swim that far, and these GPSs ping every 12 hours.
Okay.
So then they can get an idea of, it was pinged here, 12 hours later it's here, so now it had to have moved, and they're just watching the movements of them, and kind of neat just to see what's out there. And
it just seems like they're going wherever they want right now.
The males kind of do. The females typically try to stay pretty solid. They kind of have an area, and they're very territorial females, but what the males are, at least that one for sure. I never got to see this, but I heard that it's out there, and they talked about it, and apparently I we can find it. We just have to do a little more research, and I guess I'm just not as computer savvy as some people are. But
Yeah.
again, I don't. To me, it's not that big of a deal. What am I going to do with those fish? In my opinion, I know there's some guys that use them to chase them down and try shooting them,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, that's not considered a free game chase at that point.
Yeah.
You know, all you gotta do is figure out when that fish is pinging. Okay, in 10 minutes that ping's gonna go off, and we know it's in this river. Let's just sit here. This is where it's roughly been. Oh, it just pinged off, and now I can probably find that fish within 100 yards of wherever the last GPS ping went off. And to me, that doesn't seem very sporty. Doesn't seem fair chase, in my personal opinion. That'd be like having a GPS on a monster buck, and all you gotta do is run around and try to shoot them. It's no different than being in a pen at that point, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. Have you ever tried to eat a garpike?
I have. Gar is amazing.
I've heard that. I just read that again the other day. A guy said he'd put it up against almost any fish he's caught.
So it takes a little bit of work, but I promise you there's no bones. That's the greatest part about it. You want like a 3-footer. That's roughly where you want to start. You can get with any of them, but you take tin snips and you cut right up the back and split that back right in half. It's a little bit of work. It's a solid armor plate there. And then you just take a knife and go between the meat and the meat, and then you go the other way right below the meat and the rib cage.
Yep.
And it comes right out like a tenderloin. That's what it is, just a solid piece. And then you cut it into, this is what I like to do, you cut it into round circles, kind of like a scallop.
Yep.
And you can cook them however you want. If you cook them to edible, like right on the edge of edible there, you get something that's more consistent of a shrimp consistency. If you go a little bit longer and just like some people who, I don't know why they like well done steaks, but you can cook these a little more well, you'll get a chicken consistency.
Okay.
And you can make dinners with them, and I promise your kids can't even tell that it's chicken or not. It's fish. It has such a bland flavor. There's no, fishy flavor to it. There's no bones in it, and just a nice piece of meat.
Which normally, anytime you hear pike, that's a lot of people don't like catching and keeping them because they are so bony. But I've heard there's ways to completely remove them too. But I try to fish for pike. I'll bring home and figure out how to eat whatever fish is legal for me, except for the carp and stuff like that. Suckers, we tried suckers last year when we all had a bunch of time off and went fishing a bunch. We tried to smoke them, and them things had a lot of bones in them.
A lot of Y bones, yeah.
And so we basically, I think we smoked up 3 of them, and we didn't finish all 3 of them. You were picking out more bones than anything.
Yeah, it's not worth the hassle.
No.
The pike, you just do the 5-cut, and the 5-cut will get you 5 fillets, no bones. Get you all the way around them. That's a great way. But the gar, people call them gar pike. They're not gar pike. They're gar.
Yep.
It's an old saying that people used to say gar pike because of all the teeth, and the head shape kind of looks like it, but they're not. But they are a great species to eat. Very underutilized, and I enjoy them. But again, you need those 3-footers, and when we're out shooting gar, we don't, in tournaments and stuff, we don't go, well, that's an 18-incher. I don't really care, if it's there, it's got to go in the boat, because we're either going by numbers or we go by weight when we do these tournaments, and a lot of times numbers is deemed king for the most part, and when you do weight, you're not going to put a gar. Don't typically. We shot a monster down in Kentucky, 17 pounds.
Okay.
A 17-pound carp up here is, okay. We try to be in the 20 to 30 pound range.
But you don't let any go.
No. They all go in the boat.
Yeah.
Just for fun, and that's another thing you don't want to do, and that's a big thing we've been on and off seeing. So if you guys do this, please stop. People shoot fish and then they just dump them right there at the launch.
You used to see that a lot.
A lot of it's going to come back on us, and we're going to have restrictions. We're going to end up with a lot more problems with it if you just take your fish, I guarantee there's a farmer that's going to let you dump it in a field or.
They're good for gardens.
They're great. Just like these crappy salmon right now. I go catch my limit of salmon, my 3 salmon, and they go right in the garden. By the time they get near me, they're not worth anything really. They're already too rotten. But
yeah, I heard that the other night when we were fishing. He said they basically go bad when they get up the rivers.
Yep.
I never knew that. I figured they were the same fish, just moving inland. I never knew any of the lifespan or anything of them.
Yeah, so when they make it up, it's you can physically come back and start seeing day after day. Watch these fish rot right down to nothing. We call them zombie fish because you look at them and their tail is down to bones, and they're still swimming until, again, they have one of those drives, but that's it. They live out in the Lake Michigan. They grow, they come up here, spawn, and die. So they want to make sure that they reproduce and push on, and that's what they do.
Why do they die? I mean, what kills them?
There's a couple different things. There's a fungus, and that's just the way their body turns over. It's here in Great Lakes and out in the oceans, the same thing. Once they come up, they die. The steelhead return in the spring. So they'll come out, they'll spawn. Some get the fungus, and then they'll die, but the majority of them all head back and have a couple life cycles to go out, come back, go out, come back.
But they will eventually die.
Eventually.
They don't the same thing?
That one I would actually have to say I don't know.
Okay.
Being honest. But they do eventually die, and, heck, if I'm out there fishing, most of the time they come home with me. And they die that way.
Yeah.
Right in my smoker.
Yeah. I got to figure out I got to brine the stuff that we caught the other day, but we brought home 3 of them, and I think I don't know. I mentioned while we were on the boat, well, Alicia likes hers deep fried. I thought he was going to shit himself. He's like, deep fried. So I could smoke them too, but I try to make it so she can enjoy it too. And she never liked any kind of fish before. I mean, we've never been to Red Lobster, anything like that together because she doesn't like any kind of seafood. Well, last year when we had a lot of time to fish, I started bringing home. I never used to even panfish very much. When I was a kid, I did. But last year, with the kids being with me, and, I mean, honestly, we had nothing else to do. I bought an ultralight and just learned how to figure out these bluegills and perch and stuff. And I brought some home one day. I actually think, and people might hate this, but I brought home 1 bass, too, and I cut it up into real small cubes. And I deep fried it, and she has ate fish with me deep fried ever since. So, I mean, when I bring home stuff like that, just like venison, I don't know how some people are with somebody when you bring home all this food and they won't touch it. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Me either.
But Alicia, I don't think ever had like venison cooked real properly or cooked to where you would get rid of the venison flavor. So when I started cooking it for her, I mean, when we got together, I basically said, listen, you're going to pretty much be eating all kinds of stuff from the wild. Otherwise, this ain't going to work out. And, I mean, she loves venison now. She already told me this year, we need 6 or 7 of them in the freezer to go through the year. I mean, meat's not cheap in the stores at all anymore.
Thanks to our great governor and president.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that. That's a different podcast.
Yeah. We don't need to go there, but yeah.
But when you went down to Kentucky, I specifically remember you wanted one fish in particular. I thought you said the paddlefish.
The paddlefish, yep.
Now, what is so special about those, and are those ones that you eat?
Yep. So that's one of, I would say, I'd put that in the top 5 of my favorite fish. And I've tried everything. Walleye's good. I'm not saying it's not. Perch and bluegill, I love them. Pike, I actually do like pike. It's one of my go-to to eats. Those greasy Lakers, those could go to hell. But salmon's good. Steelhead's good. I've tried it all, but the paddlefish, there's no fishy flavor if you don't get the mud vein off. If you get the mud vein in there, you leave that on,
That's just extra coloration.
Right.
It's presentation on a platter.
But you can take that and you cube it up and put it on shish kebabs and put them right on the grill and cook them up that way. It holds together nice. It has great flavor. They're a pretty unique fish. The only bones in their body are in their head and jaw plate. That's it. The rest of their whole body is all either guts, skin, flesh, or cartilage. There's actually no, and they're related to the sturgeon, which is pretty neat. But you can take 2 paddlefish down there a day, and it's just kind of a neat thing. You know, we don't have them up here in Michigan. A lot of states down south, you can't even shoot them. So they're there. You just can't. They just don't have rules on them and stuff. And Kentucky, that's just one of those cool ones. I shot a nice one last year, and long story short, the skull got messed up. So I was trying to rechase that. The skull, if you ever look it up, is really pretty wild. It's all got different bones and these pretty neat patterns, and I was going to get one mounted, and I shot a really nice one that could have went on the wall. And
the way when I looked that up, when you were talking about I guess just thinking of it right now, I'd almost have to imagine their skull almost looking like a turkey pelvis.
Pelvis?
You know, the part of I always find people you can hold these things up and almost wear them as a mask, and they're from a turkey. Isn't that the pelvis or the backbone or something from a turkey?
What kind of weird shit are you getting into?
I've seen it. I know I have. And I found them out in the woods before, but... No, so anyway, go ahead. Disregard.
Yeah, just messing around. I don't know. They have these big... I know what you're saying. They have these big openings, and it's pretty neat, but the bill is what's everyone's chasing. And it kind of looks like... I don't know how to explain it. It almost looks like a bunch of snowflakes on top of each other, just a bunch of different webs going all the way through, and you can actually see all the way down.
You said snowflakes, and I...
Yeah. There's some of them here in the great state of Michigan. It's just different. I don't know how to explain it. And what I'd recommend, obviously, if you're listening, just look it up. They make mounts of them, and it makes it's a really neat mount that I think I'd like on my wall. And I tried putting a lot of unique things on the wall, like the bear I shot last year. Old squaw that we shoot out in the bay, or here in Lake Michigan, that's another unique sea duck. That's what I want to see on my wall, or big bucks. But here in Michigan, we have all these things, and a lot of people. I actually don't even have a coyote pelt, to be honest, in my house, but I shoot enough of them to me that, they kind of all look pretty neat. But
yep.
I don't really have a desire to, unless I get my all black one. And
no, that's what I'm waiting for.
Everyone's chasing them. I've shot the blondes, I've shot the reds, and not just slight blondes or slight reds. I've shot red coyotes that look just like a red fox.
Yep.
And
I've got a real orange one on my wall upstairs. It's like a burnt orange color. That's just almost like these 2x4s behind you that hold up my lovely wall.
Such a great place.
But I think I've got 8 or 10 furs in the freezer outside, and honestly, when I get coyotes in good fur, I case skin them out, freeze them, and then when I get a bunch of them, I'll find somebody, fur buyer, to take them off my hands. So, that'll eventually pay for a box of ammo.
Yeah.
You get a lot more money out of coyote fur if you got the time to put them up and dry them and all that, flesh them, tan them, all that stuff yourself. But
there's money in that stuff. Everyone looks at just the fur, but Luke Walker up there, he has his Walker skulls. He's doing the buck contest.
Oh yeah.
So you can sell him. He buys the skulls, and you get $1 or $2 right there. And that's all different skulls are different prices, but he gives you money there. Jim Tate and Rick, they own fur lure makers. They do, they'll buy the glands off the coyotes. You got, there's different things, different avenues that you can sell these. There's not just the hide on an animal,
right,
where a lot of people just go that route. Beavers, you can sell the tails, the castor. Fox, again, it's the same thing, the glands that they're after. There's different things that they're chasing that you can make money off with. Quills off of porcupines you can sell. They make bobbers and stuff out of them. Different things that people don't realize, but there's different angles. If you want to do it, you can chase it. You just got to figure out and find a buyer. And they're there. You just have to find them. And,
you might have to dig.
Yep, but they're there, and then that's how you can turn. You look, and fur prices are down. They're not worth. I think they say coyotes and rats are going to be the only thing that might be worth something in castor. Excuse me. But you start looking at those angles, the skulls, the quills, the castor. That's where you start turning a $2 animal into a $10 animal, and then it makes it start to be worth getting into it a little bit more.
Yep.
Now you have to find those animals, you have to harvest them. It takes work out of any of us that know what we're doing.
Yeah, it definitely takes work to find them consistently enough to make money off of them.
Right. Well, I'm not doing it to make money.
Right.
I wish, that's my dream, but it'll never happen, unfortunately.
Probably not, unfortunately. The way things are going, it's going to be tough. But
even another goofy one people don't know about, there's actually a market for it, but the coon penis bone. There's actually a bone in the coon penis that they buy as toothpicks. Huh. People don't know.
I think I've heard that before.
It's as goofy as it sounds. I don't want to shove someone's penis in my mouth, but they do, and they buy them.
This was family friendly until this point.
I know, but it's just different angles that people don't see, and that's kind of what I was talking about. Is if you look into and do your research, you can find stuff. Just like I have a lot of people ask me, how do you know where coyotes are? How do you do these things? I did my research.
Mm-hmm.
I did everything while hunting, but I did research. As funny as the guys give me hell for figuring out how to do stuff on the phone, I'm phone savvy, I'm tech savvy, but that's where you want to do is you want to look stuff up, get as much information, because it's out there on the internet.
Yep.
You can figure out what they eat, where they bed, what their travel corridors, their range, their family lifestyle. You figure that stuff out, you can start figuring out what the coyotes are.
And there is a lot of good resources, as much as I hate Facebook. There's a lot of good resources on Facebook. There's a lot of good people that they might stay quiet, but you can ask them a lot of times, and they'll give you all the information you could ever want. I hate mentioning Facebook because I'm getting more and more sick of it there. But so have you hunted, fished, trapped, everything, your whole life, or is this stuff you got into later?
So I always fished growing up. My brother, when I was a little bit older, said, let's go hunting. And I said, all right, what are we doing? He said, we're going to shoot some squirrels. Okay, let's go take a walk with my brother. And sure enough, I thought it was a wild, fun time. We're out there squirrel hunting, sitting on a log just talking like we are here tonight. And no joke, an 8-point buck walked 25 yards to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked over, and again, I didn't know the difference at the time of what a squirrel what 8-shot does versus anything else. And I said, and it was deer season, gun season too. And I said, can we shoot that buck? And he goes, yeah, we can't do that. And I said, why not? Isn't it season? He goes, it's season, but this 8-shot isn't we're just going to hurt him. You ain't going to kill him. And then I started learning about that end of the deal. But it was just neat seeing it right there, being in the presence of it. And it was just curious of what was going on. And that kind of sparked my interest to want to shoot deer. And then when you get in the tree stand, you start watching them and seeing how they interact and walk around in their daily life, and kind of like your own personal TV show, really. But you get to be outside and
it's undisturbed.
Yeah,
for the most part.
For the most part, I've had it both ways.
Yep, me too. Sometimes you could get disturbed out there, but a lot of times it's just sitting in a tree and peace and quiet until you hear that twig snap, which then, of course, it's a squirrel that you were out there hunting a week before and never saw. But, yeah, I love sitting out there in the peace and quiet. I'm looking forward to next week's opener.
You and me both.
So, yeah, I saw on the page, and anybody that follows the page, you do a lot of bird hunting too, goose hunting. You've got a dog that you take out. And you were just talking to me before we recorded. You got a season starting, this weekend?
So this weekend is the UP opener for ducks and geese.
Okay.
So that's anywhere across the bridge. You can go up there. Now the Upers might give you a little heckling for going up there, as they always do from us trolls that live down here. But their season starts this weekend. And then next weekend, which is what I'm going to go after, is the middle zone, which is M20 and to the bridge. And then from M20 down is the following weekend. And that would be our duck and goose opener. And I typically don't go to the UP, but I start at the middle zone. And then I come down here and then do ours. And then I just bounce around shooting ducks and geese for fun. And while I'm up there, we're also going to possibly bring my dog and run her again. And that was something fun last weekend, hanging out with some friends. You're just bullshitting around, having fun, and all of a sudden, the talkie says she's on point, and the Garmin, and you just walk in and you try to shoot these things, and everyone thinks, oh man, you know where the bird is, you know what's going to happen. You try shooting a bird in the cedar swamps.
What were you chasing last weekend?
So it was partridge and woodcock.
Okay.
The woodcock are about the size, and so I took a picture of it, if you follow the page, about the size of my hand. So you're trying to do a bird that literally rockets off the ground and then flies sporadically and trying to hit that through a cedar swamp that is just thicker than thieves.
Are those the ones that about make you crap your pants walking in the dark in the morning and you about to step on them before they take off?
Those are the pats, the partridge, yeah.
Okay.
Chickens, whatever you want to call them, about little small chickens, and they sound like a machine gun going off when they take off. Funny story, when I was last year bear hunting, I had never seen a black bear in my life. I knew we had them here. I seen sign, but I'd never seen one in person. And here I am. Okay, Carl, time to go. Opening day of bear season. Everything's set up. You need you to get your stand. And I drove there myself. Followed the 3/4 of a mile hike in on my Huntweiss. And followed my pins in. And I'm walking, getting nervous. Been told stories about it for everybody about how bears attack you and they all this and they do that and they get nervous. And all of a sudden I'm watching with my thermal walking in, just knowing I had to walk this trail, and sure crap enough, right in front of me blows up a partridge. And I am just about done. I'm about to head back to the truck, and all I have in my hand is a bow and some more bait to put back in the thing. So I had no way, even if it was a bear, to defend myself.
Right.
And then I get all the way to the blind, and my heart's racing, and I'm looking for my blind. My blind's gone. And my buddy who was helping me up there had to re-put my blind up that Monday. And it was Sunday for the opener, because the bear had come in and pushed my blind to get down. So now I'm looking for my blind. My Huntweiss is telling me that it should be right here on my pins, and I'm looking, and all of a sudden I look up with my red lamp from the night snipe, and I look up, and there's two eyes staring right at me, and that's my first encounter with a bear, and it's 26 yards away from me, and I'm holding a handful of candy for this bear and a bow in my hand.
Smells sweet.
And it's eating on the bait. And I was like, oh crap. So I text my buddy and I said, there's a bear on the bait. and he had a cell phone camera on it, and he said, "Sure enough, and it looks like about a 400-pounder," and he's looking right at you. I said, "Yes, he is." He said, "Just get in your blind." I said, "I don't know where my blind is. It's gone." He said, "Well, just try to find your blind and just get in quiet. He'll take off and he'll come back." And I said, "Piss on this." I sat there with that thermal and I just watched, waiting for my death to come. And he wandered off. He kept looking over, but he just wandered off. And sure enough, I needed to go another few yards, and there was my blind behind a tree. And blind was still up, but you could see the claw marks from when the bear pushed it down on Monday. And got in there and went out there, quickly put the bait in the barrel, and got back in this thing. And needless to say, I sat all day, didn't see anything, saw the same 6 blue jays about 30 times, started naming them because I was getting bored, and right before dark, in came my little tiny bear.
So not the 400-pounder.
Not the 400-pounder. It was around 100 pounds.
Okay.
And she was a small female, but she was by herself. She, everything was legal on that end of the deal, and I wanted to shoot one with a bow. And so my buddy on the cell camera here, I'm watching her, thinking, man, this is pretty cool, seeing a bear right in front of me. And next thing I know, I get a text message from him, "Shoot that bear," because he's watching her too. And he had told me that there was 5 houndsmen circling the block.
Oh, okay.
So on the first day on Sunday, it's bait only, and then on Monday the houndsmen can start running their dogs. So he said by tomorrow morning, he said those dogs are going to be running, and any bear sitting on a bait's going to get pushed right off by
I've
those
heard
dogs.
that before.
So he said that's your bear, and we had been watching her. She came every day, so I knew what I was, who I was probably going to take. Percentages were there, and
yep.
I drew the bow back 26 yards and hit her in the heart. She went 40 yards, piled up, gave me the death moan 3 times. He called me, "You shoot that bear?" I said, "Yeah." "Did you hear the death moan?" "Oh, yeah." That's something that'll always stick in your head if you hear it. And then I packed some stuff out, met him at the truck. We both went in. I don't know if he was more tickled pink than I was, but I was excited. And
yeah.
We went out there, found the bear, and he said, "Well, your job's to drag this out now." And he said, "I'm not going to help you. You didn't shoot a monster." But I said, "Oh, that's fine." And drug it all the way out, and we celebrated. He helped me take care of it, processed it, and now I got myself a bear. And then he said, he's a guide, so up in the UP, and he said, "Just keep putting your points in, and we'll get you up there again, up in the UP, and we'll get you a bigger bear,
Yeah.
So, but down here, I've been waiting 10 years. I put in 10 years for that area, and finally I drew. Another guy that I bowfish against, CJ Filler, he was at, I think, 11 or 12, maybe even 13 points he was at, which is that many years. He had been waiting to draw for that area. And so.
Yeah, we, Kevin and Jeremy and Mike are headed north, but they're going up there, and Kevin's told me for the past couple of years, put in for your tag, get your tag, but it just, I kind of want to, but at the same time, I love to deer hunt. So I still would not mind just being down here deer hunting, but I want to go, when I do, shoot one with my bow. I have no urge at all to shoot big game with a gun, I don't think, anymore, really. I did go out for the early doe for one night with the 350 Legend, and that was the first time I had been out with a gun in like 8 years for a deer. I love to bow hunt, but if and when I go up there, it's going to be with a bow too. That's my thrill. And that's got to be a rush that close on the ground to a bear.
It is. So for me, again, my buddy and I, we talked about it. He said, "Are you excited?" I said, "Yes and no." And he said, kind of looked at me like, "I put in all this work for you, jerk, and you're saying yes and no?" He said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, it's hard when you see a 400-pounder and then you shoot a 100-pounder. You're looking at the trophy and you're watching the pictures all week and everything up to it, and you get excited, and then you get the little one. But anyone will tell you, you shoot a bear in Michigan, it's a trophy. To shoot a bear in Michigan is a trophy, no matter how you want to look at it. So for me, yes, it still is something personal. It means something to me. Sure, I could have sold the hide. I wanted it. He's my buddy. He may be a guide, but he's my buddy, and we talk all the time.
Yep.
He's one of the better trappers I know up there in in northern Michigan, and but it does have a part where you're shooting you see a 400 pounder and something a quarter of that size comes walking in. You kind of go, ugh, but again, I'm still happy. I made the right shot. I practiced my bow, so for me, I'm Matthews E7 Extreme. I know
that's an older bow.
Yeah, it's
a lot of people like those bows though.
8-9 years old now, but
yep.
I love that bow. I Robin Hooded a couple times, which cost you a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
But I did it right before I went up there and made sure I was still on. But like you said, shooting them with a bow, to me, anybody can shoot them with a gun for the most part. I mean, I've seen piss poor shots on some people, but anyone can shoot them with a gun. But with a bow, you've got to be in there tight. You got to make that shot. You got to be good with your bow.
There's just a different personal feeling to it, I feel. Like even with deer. I think I've told the story before, but the last deer I shot with a gun was at like 100 and some odd yards with a muzzle loader. She popped out. I never shook. I never got excited. I had a doe tag in my pocket. Boom, dropped her. Now what? Like, okay, that just wasn't fun to me anymore. So now getting them up close, personal, 30 yards in, that's my jam. I mean, I'm seriously sitting here like every day looking at pictures and looking at the weather, and they're saying opening day is October 1st here, and they're saying that morning should be like 53, 54.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You're going to have a nice little movement there.
Well, my first goal for the year is putting a doe or two in the freezer right off the bat. Granted, I'm not going to pass any of the nice bucks that have been walking by my camera if they come by, but I'm probably going to hunt a lot closer to my truck than I usually would if I was going chasing a buck, because I'm not going to shoot a doe a mile back. It just does are everywhere. I mean, you can find them pretty easily. That's my goal, but I'm also going to, here in the next day or two, take that LTV off the 350, sight it in on the crossbow for the kids. I share quite a few trail camera pictures, and I've got stuff that I hunt public land for within 2 hours of here, a bunch of spots. And Owen being picky, wanting a buck, I feel like I got a pretty decent chance of being able to find him one with all the activity that I do get. But I also thought that during the youth hunt, and it didn't work. So, but I'm going to get the crossbow ready for them. Probably opening weekend is going to be... Well, opening weekend for me is going to be more than likely me by myself, unless my brother-in-law comes with me or anything. Second weekend, I'm going up north with my cousins to a bunch of public up there. Third weekend, I think my wife and I got plans. Fourth weekend, we're going away. Me, Tony, and Chris. A couple guys are joining us up there for a week. But, I see you, we talk, we've got a couple message boards between us that we all talk to each other on. And I'm sitting here like, guys, it's bow season starts next week. What the heck is deer season? It's this season this weekend, and it's this season last weekend. Like, I don't pay attention to any other seasons, really. Coyote I used to pay attention to when we had one, but now we can go 24/7 year-round.
Yep.
Deer, man, I wait. I put in my time, my work. I walk so much. I find a bunch of good spots, and then it always seems like they don't work out come deer season. But I just get myself so jacked up waiting for the day. And a lot of times on opening day, my birthday's opening day. So I always take that day off. My wife always knows I'm not going to be home that day, usually. And I think I've only killed one deer on my birthday, on opening day, ever. And it was a doe. But I don't care. If a doe walks by me opening day at all, she's getting a shaft for sure. But do you do a lot of deer hunting? I know you took a guy out for the youth hunt, but you do a lot of bow hunting, or are you hunting other animals?
I do everything. So my season is ramping up. You know, I'm going to school right now, but I am going to be just loaded with animals here this year. Trapping season starts in October, middle of October, so I got that. Like I said, ducks and geese start here next weekend for me. This weekend for some of my buddies. Deer season starts the day before the middle zone opener for ducks and geese, so I'll be doing that. Then you start looking at marten fisher trapping, coyote hunting when the furs are, from your pictures, are starting to turn over, it looks like.
Yeah, I just got a picture from a landowner today, and that was a fat looking coyote.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing. That thing's got to go on a diet. I said, well, unfortunately, there's probably a couple fawns in it.
Yep.
And he said, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. But he said that they just cut their corn down. And this is, within 20 miles north of here. You kind of know the area.
Oh, yeah.
He said they just cut the corn down, last Monday or something like that. So he said, come on out if you want to, but stick up close to the barn. They're deer hunters too. And that's what happens come deer season is all the crops around here come off, but most of my properties get shut down because they want to deer hunt them. So that gives me a lot of time to focus on deer hunting too. But I actually had a landowner. I've never met her yet. She lives down by my old lease, and she emailed us last weekend and said, I need somebody here. And I talked to her, and we set up a time. She wants me to come out, I think, October 12th in the evening to go walk her property and maybe do a evening setup. But based on what I've seen, she said it's all row pine property. Okay. So it's going to be a daytime, probably shotgun setup. Kevin, he's been killing some coyotes in the woods using thermal just fine. I like getting them close to the shotgun in daylight too, so probably to check out the property and do the first hunt there. It'll probably be on the ground with a shotgun, but I can't get deer out of the back of my mind, man. I'm driving myself nuts.
That's one thing I still want to do is shoot one with a shotgun. I've called them into 5 yards. I've called them right on top of me, and I've still never shot one with a shotgun. I've shot one with a bow, a coyote. But
Calling,
yeah.
Well, what the heck?
With a bow, it was deer hunting.
Okay.
And then, you seen him. He was up there chasing some fawns.
Yep.
And then you do the little lip squeaking, and sure enough, they're dumb. The curiosity gets the best of them. And he starts coming down looking for what's squeaking, and 15 yards, I let that coyote have it.
I haven't done that either. I've been deer hunting since I was 12, since 2000. And I think out of a tree, I've seen 6 or 7 total coyotes. Like, that's not very many for as many as we call in Michigan. There is a ton of coyotes around. Last year, right at first light, early bow season, I was actually hunting right on the side of a human walking trail because it was always loaded with deer sign. Public property, you can hunt it.
Yep.
You're just probably going to have your hunt interrupted by either a horse or... Now the problem seems to be quads and stuff driving down all those trails.
Or you go there and your stand's not there anymore.
Well, I hang and hunt, so my stuff never gets stolen. But right at first light, I hear trotting coming down that trail, and I went to grab my bow, and I turn and look, and there's 3 of them, 3 coyotes at about 12 yards, staring right at me, already pegged me in the tree. I mean, that was the closest I've came to being able to shoot one out of a tree, but... I carry Timber Freak hand calls in my backpack with me, and there's a lot of times right before dark you'll hear them light up, and I'll kind of peek around like, I don't see any deer, I don't hear any deer, and I'll start hand calling, and I still haven't even called one in like that yet that I've ever seen, but I want to so bad. And I shotgunned one, a month ago, posted the video, and I almost brought my bow on that set because of the tight quarters that it was. And I should have, because I think I shot that thing 7 yards. I mean, real close with the shotgun. Would have been real fun with the bow, but it's just... The bow's kind of luggy to carry around to go do multiple sets. And you got to draw
back, especially if you're on the ground. The drawing, I mean, you can get away with a crossbow. That's just like a gun. But you could... To draw back, that's where being in the tree... if you can catch them 50 yards out before they know you're there, then you just draw and then start squeaking, and typically they come in if they're coming.
Yeah.
And I got lucky with mine. I had my wind was going from east to west, and I had a pond right behind me on my east side, so he couldn't go around and wind me. So it was just commit, and you could tell he was hungry because he was he literally was trying to chase the fawns around, and I just knew it was time to have it. And
yeah.
I don't know how many times I've had it. I've called in, not called, but you squeak in or try to shoot red fox.
Yep.
In season, and those buggers matrix. I shot at one. It was 25 yards, and I let go before it even knew I was there. And that thing jumped the arrow. I couldn't believe it, and landed and took off. And I was, how is this even possible? But they're so quick, and their ears are so keen to hear these things coming. They're pretty slick, but yeah, coyotes are fun. But yeah, for me for deer hunting too, I'm gonna look. I'm chasing some big bucks. My goal is to try to win the Overdrive page big buck contest if I'm allowed to be in it.
Well, see, and I'll tell you right now, we have never let any of our own guys be in our own contest.
Okay.
It just raises too many questions.
It does.
In the end, and I want, and this will probably be coming out after opening day, and so, our big buck contest will probably be going on by that point. But yeah, we've done coyote tournaments and stuff like that, and the one time that one of our guys were to win it, and it couldn't happen because we never let them enter. That's when you start to have people questioning it, and we're gonna be as legitimate and wide open as we can be, where nobody can question it because there's no fairness shown either way. So that's just how we've always ran it. I must not have told you that.
But that's okay because I got a couple other buddies that do the same thing.
Yep.
And they're actually going to be in our tournament, which is good to hear.
Okay.
And I'm going to be doing a Michigan Dream Hunt, Dream Season, Michigan. We got to film and we have points and we got to do this whole 9 yards for Michigan, and we'll see. I'm going to chase the big bucks, but I took a kid out for the youth hunt, and as you always see on the TV shows, it's down to my last hunt, and I'm down to my last 10 minutes, and next thing you know, the big buck walks out. Well, that actually happened to me. I've always made fun of the TV shows, but it actually happened to me. And the kid put what I believe is a good shot on the deer. Unfortunately, we did not recover it.
Well, you guys ran into storms.
Yeah, we had storms right after, one after the next, so the blood trail got washed away. We had issues one after the next. I'm still waiting for one of my landowners to, if they said that if they find it, he gets the horns. And this kid worked his butt off. He helped me with scouting. He helped me with getting the blind out there, with practicing. He tried everything he could to get himself ready, and it didn't work out. That's hunting. But my goal this year, and I told him before this happened, was I'm going to hunt for the first week hard, chasing my first few bucks. I got a couple big ones I'm chasing. And then I actually plan on trying to help him.
Yeah.
I can shoot their farm. I can go shoot does all day long. So if I need the meat, I just go there and shoot a bunch of does and have my meat. But for that kid, he was so tickled pink, and he had only shot a 4-point. He's 15, and he'd only shot a 4-point up to this. That's his biggest buck.
Yep.
And he let some, I'd say 110s, 120s walk, short 120s, walk on opening morning, because he said I told my dad I'm after the big 4 and I'm going to get a monster. And he had the goal set, and I'm very impressed to see someone with the goal set that I want this. I want a goal, and I'm going to try to accomplish it. And the kid tried, and Mother Nature didn't have it in the books for him, but we still got a couple nice ones out there for him, and we're gonna. And he's learning. He's teaching, and that's one podcast that we kind of talked about in the future possibly doing is getting the kids in here, getting the kids to talk about what they've learned, so that other kids and like some of the stuff I don't even know. I mean, we're all always learning, but
and we can all learn together, and all have the same outcome from it. It's kind of It's kind of how we should work together. It's how sportsmen, outdoorsmen should work together, you know.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's just bickering back and forth all the time, and that is no good for the sport.
No, actually, if we start separating ourselves, the antis honestly will have us split so far apart that they're going to wedge us in, and then it's all gone.
Yep.
You know, right now they're chasing our coyote hunting tournaments.
Yep.
Here in the state of Michigan, but when you look at the ruling, they're not just trying to get rid of coyote contests; they're trying to get rid of contests
Every
in general.
contest.
So now
And that's the buck polls that they have every year at some of these
bowfishing
places.
tournaments
Yeah,
I
everything.
have, you name it, walleye tournaments. To them, that's all should be gone. Rabbit tournaments, small game, trying to get kids out.
Because you're killing things just to win things is their claim. But they will never get it. They'll never get it.
No.
There's so much more to it behind that. It's not... How many coyote tournaments have I done against you guys, you know, before you were with us?
Yeah.
How many did I win? I've only won one hunt of all the tournaments that I've done, but that's not what I was there for. I mean, I pretty much went in every year knowing I'm probably going to bring in nothing. I can go out, you know, next weekend and kill a pile of them.
You're just going to miss them all, so what's going to happen?
Well, that used to be the problem. It's not so big with missing anymore. It's just once it gets to like a tournament time, I play almost different, you know. I just don't do things the same, and I rush myself, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. But all those tournaments I did and never won any of them, it was not about what you could win or lose. I mean, yeah, there was always that in your back of the mind, but going in and shaking a bunch of people's hands and talking about the weekend and just having a good time with them, that's the stuff that these people will never get because they've never taken the time to actually explore deeper into them besides the pile of dead coyotes out front.
Yep.
That is just so bad, and they don't get the population control. They don't get any of it.
They don't. Honestly, I've seen it in the areas I hunt. You know, we got one in my area. I'm the coyote hunter in my area. We have a guy that just traps all the farmland up there,
Mm-hmm.
and we have sometimes two groups of guys that run hounds, but the houndsmen don't really. They actually asked me to come shoot for them because they don't even shoot. They just like running their dogs up there on the coyotes. But between me and the trapper, we've seen a coyote population come down a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. Where I used to call in doubles and triples, and I knew I'd go in there and I'd miss. I mean, that was when I was about you back then. I'd miss, you know, but we'd see them, and it was nothing to call them in. Now, I'm not saying I don't shoot them out of there, you know, and I take people and I let them shoot or I let them miss, but they're just not coming in as frequently.
Yeah.
The tracks aren't there, which is a good sign. They're starting to finally see a deer population again.
Yep.
Rabbit populations coming back. The turkeys are coming back.
But if you were to stop doing it for a year, the problem would be right back.
Right.
I
That's
mean,
all it takes is 1 year.
Yeah, that one pup drop from multiple females, and you've got a population again. And I've got a landowner about 40 minutes from here. I've been hunting his property for 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years now. And when I first started going out there, it was nothing for me to hunt 5 sets and see 20 coyotes. I mean, absolutely insane amount of coyotes out there. Now, you know, I was there a couple weeks ago and I shot 2 of them off his property. And he said, you know, we don't hardly hear them anymore. We don't hardly see them. He said, we get the occasional one that runs around behind the barn or, you know, a couple of them that come through. He's got a couple highways that kind of run through his property that make it not road highways, but different avenues that the coyotes can take to easily access his property and get back and forth without ever being known, you know. But one of his neighbors said, you know, the coyotes used to be so bad out there that they'd come up and like start barking at his dog, trying to almost, he felt, lure the dog off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when the pack of them's right there, and there was packs of them there when I first started, he said that doesn't happen anymore. He said, only time I really hear them howling is when you're not here. And out there, I honestly can't anymore go out and howl and get a vocal reply at all anywhere. It's so weird. But just standing there, you might hear 1 or 2 that are making noise by themselves. But yeah, these landowners, especially livestock owners, if they took away all this stuff, there'd be so many problems that people don't want to realize because they can't see past, the blinders they got right in front of their eyes.
I mean, I know cows fart, and that's what they want them to have the...
Yeah, we're supposed to collect that for gas or something.
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't know, or some green, deal or something like that. But and I got a farmer up there. During deer season, I typically shut down. Same thing you were saying. Just puts people at ease. I've got videos. I got bucks at 7 yards walking right up to me, having no idea I'm there, and you can hear the collar going off. If you're downwind, they don't have any idea what's going on.
Yep.
But I shut down. I had farmer last year. He called me and said, "Hey, I need you up here." I said, "I told you. I'll come if you're asking, but I don't. I shut down, And he said, "I got a coyote coming into my calf barn.
Yep.
Every morning he's coming in trying to pull these calves out of here. I need you in here." And I went 3 nights in a row, 3 nights, 3 coyotes, and same right there at the barn. And finally, I gave it a couple days, and I said, "God, I had to have hit it right with the." And he said, "Yep." He's not coming in anymore. So I must have got him, obviously, or it could have been all 3 of them at just different times. But that's what they do. They come in, they're trying to find an easy meal and drag her off. I'm helping these landowners, just like we all are, and people just don't see it like that. It's the tough part, but you got to someone's got to do the nitty gritty, right? Yeah. And I guess I'm willing to do it
I am too. Hate me for all. I don't care. I love to hunt, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And helping, we've said it before. I've met so many people just being a hunter. Just being a coyote hunter, I've met landowners that honestly, a lot of them, I would have never even gone and thought to knock on their door to try to get permission. But they reach out to us or other people, we know a lot of coyote hunters. There's a lot of coyote hunters in Michigan anymore. Yep. They'll reach out to these people, and it's like, you never would have even thought that person could have an issue with a coyote, where they're at or their setup. And they do. And, it's just so cool to me when the phone rings or email goes off or we get a message on the page and, "Hey, we've been following you. We need your help." And we don't charge anything. We do it because we love to. And my happiness comes from seeing when I send that landowner a picture of a dead one and they're just, "Thank you." Every time. It's never you always get a reply and it's always positive, when you send them a picture of a dead coyote. And that, to me, that's the fun part for me anymore, is just helping people. And I love getting new people into it now, sort of, kind of. It's there's a line that sometimes has to be drawn. But, I think we've been here for over an hour now. But, you're a big trapper, too. I'd like to get you back on, probably have you and Kevin do one in the future, because that's something you guys have in common, is trapping. I don't know anything about trapping. The most trapping I've ever done was live trapping possums when it needed to be gone,
That's easy.
Yeah, and I've just never done anything else with a trap than that, but I'd like to get you back on again. Obviously you're part of Overdrive Outdoors now. You're welcome on anytime, but we need to get you on again to do a good podcast for some of these listeners that want to get into trapping, get started, everything. And
to me, trapping is fun. You got to take an animal and get him to step on 1 inch of ground in the entire world.
Yep.
And that's what you got to do. For me, beaver trapping is fun. You got to get that animal to commit. That's kind of what drew me into, I don't know, you want to say hunting is the best way to say it in general. Outsmarting the animal and getting them to believe. So when you're deer hunting, you got to convince a buck you're another buck to come fight you. To me, that's a lot of fun. I love watching those bucks come run in there. Yeah. They're snorting and they're ripping stuff up and
fluff up their fur and try to act bigger, and they're a little spike. I've seen that before. They walk sideways all the way to you like they're gonna come, spear the other deer with their spikes.
Or when you call in 2 bucks at once and they think that you're one of the other one, and they start fighting, and you're like, and they're too small. So for me, I just watch them, but it's fun going, God, how smart of them. For me, duck hunting, I got outsmart the ducks to make them believe that I'm a group of ducks. Turkey hunting is the same way.
You're not very good at that. I mean, I took you.
Oh, I called you one in. I'm not very good at being sneaky on that end of the deal.
That was the first time we'd ever hunted together.
Yep.
Was for during turkey season, and I think Carter was home that day. I think he
didn't want to come along for some reason that morning.
Yeah, and we had a slow morning, but then we're driving back home and we spot one on public.
Yep.
Snuck all the way around, and I mean, I've never killed a turkey, so I don't know what to do. And yeah, we set up where we thought we could call this bird in, and we did. It just, you had to leave.
I was on a time frame. I had to be up to actually set a blind up for the farmer I took for the youth hunt. I had to go put a blind up to help him get his blind ready for his hunt. I don't remember when, the next day or a couple days later, but we wanted to get the blind up so the turkeys got used to it.
Yep. And
I said, God, we've been here a little bit. This bird should have showed up. I know we were close. I said, just stay still. I was set up about, 5-10 yards behind you.
Yeah, we had a big lane off to our left, and it was all thick all around it.
All around. So we couldn't really see more than 50 yards down the lane because we were sitting on the edge of it. And I said, just stay still. I'm going to look around here and see if I can see if I can see him down there. And sure enough, I leaned out, and there was that bird just outside of the range of what we could see coming in.
Like he was coming, too.
And he caught me, and I just went, crap.
And I couldn't see it.
And he couldn't see. I should have just told him. I thought I could sneak back, but knowing what I know, it never works out for you.
Right.
I should have just told him to lean out and look because he wasn't even going to get a shot. It was over 50 yards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was right there coming in full strut. And if I'd have just
5 more minutes.
Yeah, 5. And I don't even think it was that. I think we'd have had him. Yeah, but it would have been quick. And that was the sad part was it was right there. And then they tried, and you guys tried again over and over. And
a couple different times.
Now you guys are just fed up with them. But
I just, that's like my 3rd year trying. I mean, not consecutively, but I've bought tags before. Carter wanted to turkey hunt this year. That's why I bought tags. And then, I think it was opening day he went, and then the second day he sat home. And I think it was the second morning we went out.
Yep.
And we had him gobbling right on the roost right at morning. And that's what we actually went in for, I think, that morning right off the bat.
Yep.
And then, I bet if I would have seen him coming full strut, or maybe he would have just gobbled right there in my face.
That was the weird part is he didn't make a single peep. He didn't.
But he had a hen with him when we saw him, remember?
Right.
When we drove by, he had a hen with him. So I don't know if that makes any difference.
No,
but
they get all excited. They're so revved up for the season of mating that they just...
I get that.
Yeah, we all get that. When it's time,
I understand. So Carl, I appreciate you coming down. I mean, you actually came to my house for this one, and I told you we can do this online if you want, but you had other stuff to do today, so I appreciate you coming down. But we've been, it's looking like over an hour and 20 minutes-ish right now, but is there anything you'd like to follow up with before we get going?
No, I think nice meeting everybody. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to message the group, myself, however you guys want to do it. We're here to help. That's, in my opinion, what I think the group is all about, is to help other people. Sure, we go on our adventures and we do our things, but learn from, if there's things you want to learn from us, learn, ask.
Yeah.
I'm more willing to help. I didn't learn from someone telling me. So I won't give you a direct answer, and I'm just being honest with you guys. Like, this is the key because I know why everything is happening when I do this or that, or this is going wrong because of something I did. If you don't experience it, you don't know why.
Yeah, you'll never know.
But I can give you directions, and that direction should put you in a place that's doing good.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned. Everyone learns differently, but keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Heck, ask me a question, and I might give you one answer, and
I'll get on there and give you the whole spiel. It might be the wrong one, but we're all about that, taking questions. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast about any certain subject or multiple, we've pretty much got guys now that do something in all avenues of the outdoors, from fishing to bird hunting,
Yep.
deer hunting, coyotes.
We got someone in everything.
Yeah.
I do everything, but I don't know everything.
No.
But we have guys in every group. I don't know how. What do you got? Nine guys, something like
10,
that.
11.
11, something like that. Yeah, we got. Everyone does something. They all have something they're good at.
Yep.
So we all have knowledge. Ask questions. Ask me a question. I'm probably gonna ask you one right back.
Yep.
Then we can both learn. But that's the only way we're gonna get better.
Yeah.
And I could stay as crappy as I am right now and let you guys get better. But I'm just, I just enjoy doing this stuff. And why not try to help everybody? That's what I think sportsmanship's about. When we're out coyote hunting, when I knock on doors, again, if they say someone's there, I say thanks. I'll try back in a year. I give, and I say, they know who I am. A lot of the farmers all talk to each other, but in my opinion, if there's someone there, that's the way of being a sportsman, just like you in state land, right? You had that, and I know we're wrapping this up, but you had a guy that asked you to show him a piece of state land up here, right?
Yeah.
And you wanted to hunt it, and the guy
had it marked for months, but he picked it on his own on the maps, and he was basically learning. He's deer hunted before, but it's been a long time, and he said he's like a 2-day gun hunter. That's all they ever knew. So he said, I want to learn. He posted on one of the Facebook pages, I want to learn how to scout. Will anybody teach me? And there was quite a few guys that reached out, but I said, pick a spot on a map, anything you want to pick, and we'll go walk it. And he picks this spot, and I look, and I'm like, I've had a mark in there for the last couple months. I said, yeah, let's go check it out. I got a spot in there I want to go look at anyways. And at the end of that trip, he said, I never knew what an old rub looked like. When you can tell that it's a rub that's starting to heal up. He said, I never knew that. And he said, and then you look and you can see the line that these deer were traveling to do that. He said, I never would have thought to look that. And I showed him, I'm still learning a lot of that stuff too. And I told him that. I said, based on what I know about deer bedding behavior in hilly country like we have in a lot of spots down here, at the end of this point, there should be a bed. And we walked in there, and I told you guys there was a bed right there, and it was trashed. There's 17 rubs right in that area from this year. And I said, crap. Well, what? I said, nothing. I said, you picked a spot. I said, I've had it marked, but you picked the spot on your own. You want to learn how to hunt. I said, up towards the road, you could probably sit there if your goal is to kill a doe or, a young buck. He's just learning this stuff. So he said, well, if a small buck comes in the first day, I probably won't shoot it. But if it starts getting, later on and one does, I will. And I said, then we need to go find out where the bigger one that you might want to go after right off the bat is. And as soon as we got in there, man, it just, dang, I should have came and checked this out. But he's got a trail camera up there, and I made him a deal. I said, you hunt it? I said, it's public land. Let me know if you need help getting one out, and I'd like to see if you get any pictures in here. And he said, yeah, that's no problem. He's not from here. He moved here. And I said, I've got a deer card. I've got plenty of guys were willing to come help you out with this, and he was grateful, and that's cool to me.
You backed out. That's also the neat thing about it is you said this is yours,
Yeah.
If we're all on top of each other, I had that during the youth hunt. I had a guy tell me he literally set up right in front of our shack on his property. I understand it's private property and that's the way it is, but he literally set up right in front of our gun and said, piss off.
Yeah.
That's not safe for a kid to learn that, and it's just not us helping each other out.
Right.
I understand there's a whole different scenario on that end, but when you're asking for permission, when you're trying to help each other, make sure that you're willing to work with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to kick someone off because you want it. I get it. It's sweet. It's probably some really great deer hunting or coyote ground, but we just have to work with each other, and that's the big thing I think is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing goods from somes and very horribles and bad stories from others,
Yep.
and all it does is hurt us in general. If we're hurting each other, we're hurting sportsmen in all.
Yeah, I agree. Well, with that, I think we'll finish it up. You've got, about a 45-minute ride back home probably?
And I got to work on my dumb window.
And he's got to fix his window that his dog broke. So thank you guys all for listening. If you stuck with us this long, we really appreciate you clicking play on this podcast and all our other ones. I watch how many downloads we're getting on a daily basis, and it seems like it's starting to pick up traction, and I appreciate that. We all do, because the more people that listen to this, the farther out it goes. And if we can help one person, I don't care if we don't help anybody else, but if one person sends us a picture, Kevin got one today, that he helped a guy go out and kill a coyote that's been struggling with it, and all Kevin did was give him a write-up of what he would suggest. And, that to me makes everything worth it.
Yep.
So thank you guys so much for listening to this. We're going to wrap this one up. It's almost bow season. This one's probably going to come out after bow season starts. But we'll have... I'm still, even with all the crap going on YouTube, I'm still going to be posting videos to it. We'll be posting to our Facebook page, Instagram. There's another one that's called Rumble, I think, that's almost like a YouTube that I think I'm going to be starting to post some stuff on too. So if you haven't yet, please go out and follow these, subscribe to our YouTube page. Even though it might eventually get torn down, the subscribers now mean a lot to us. And you don't make any money off that till you get way up there in views and subscribers anyway. But just to see how many people are following, we appreciate that. Facebook page keeps growing. We just hit over 21,000 last week.
Yep.
And we're at like 45,000 followers of the page. We appreciate each and every one of you, even if you're not one that likes to be there because you're actually against what we do. We still appreciate you getting us out there for us. So thank you all very much, and everybody have a good night. And I hope, I'm going to say it anyway, good luck during deer season, and, be safe, wear that safety harness, go back to your families. Everybody's got somebody that loves them, so be careful out there, be safe, be smart, have fun. We'll talk to you later.